Jeremy Shales will be the man in the umpire's chair for this championship match this afternoon, and I look for him to be tested on occasion.
Oh, boy, you hate to say too much about it, but it has to be said. Both of these fellas, John Mcenroe particularly, has his say on the court. So many people feel very negatively about the way that he behaves. He oversteps the mark more often than he should, no question about it. Talk about his talent on the court is an entirely different story, but he feels, or he hopes, that he's improving his behavior. I didn't really see it, any improvement, that is, last week from Stratton, where he had words with the fellas in the chair. But that's part of the way that he plays the game. The thing that we mentioned yesterday that I think is important for his opponents to realize is that while he will have a discussion with them, and while those kinds of things that happen on the court will very often affect the way that some players play, it does not affect him. If anything, it pumps him up. Ivan Lendl has become more vociferous himself on the court, I think more as a sort of a protective mechanism than anything else, because if McEnroe and Connors, for example, are going to be doing it, then you know that he feels like he is going to have his say as well.
They are very even in almost every statistical category, and that includes money won. In 1985, John McEnroe, official prize money, $658,852. And Ivan Lendl, not far behind, $630,271. And in this tournament, they have a chance to add to that, at least $25,000 per second. First prize is $51,000.
Lendl beat, in the first round here, Mark Fleur. He beat Tim Mayotte. And I was wondering earlier in the year when Mayotte won down in Delray whether he was going to be a factor on the hard courts. I thought he would be. He has not been as successful as I anticipated. He beat Anders Jarrett, and then yesterday in the semi-final, I hope you had a chance on ESPN to see him beat Jimmy Arias 6-4, 6-2.
It is the defending champion, John McEnroe, to serve first. 15-love. We are just underway. First set.
Sorry.
Wait, please.
McEnroe, as there's a slight delay, beat Tim Wilkerson in the second round. He had a bye in the first round. Aerts in the second round, Love and won the third round of the tournament, the second for him. He beat Ramesh Krishnan from India. And then in the semis, Jimmy Connors.
You can see the pattern early, Cliff. McEnroe coming quickly to the net off that first serve, and Lendl trying to pass him. 30-love now.
Well, you know, these two know each other's games very well. They've played against each other so many times.
Series edge to McEnroe, 13-11. That's the way they stand as they start play today.
John, it has been a very patchy history between the two of them. McEnroe won the first two, then Lendl 6 in a row. Then McEnroe came through, and out of the next 8 or 9 times, or make that about out of the next 10 times, McEnroe won about 8 of them until Lendl turned it around again this year in the WCT Tournament of Champions. But it was all Lendl at one point, then all McEnroe. Now it is evened out. But it was interesting to watch that match they played in Philadelphia in '83 when McEnroe beat him for the first time in about 6 meetings. And he did it by coming in, by attacking Lendl, by making him going for the passing shots, by attacking his second serve. And he has done that ever since. And it's worked.
Still first serve at 40-love in the first game of the first set. We appear to be in the flight path today, so we get him warmed up for the U.S. Open.
That'll do it. Well, I said the wind was blowing in the opposite direction. It is, and that's probably why we are in the flight path.
Game 1 to McEnroe. He holds his serve at love. This is the finals of the Canadian Open for 1985. Ivan Lendl will serve for the first time when we come back. his semifinal match on Saturday, he won 92% of his first serves. Exactly what you predicted, Cliff. On that second serve, it was Mcenroe coming in.
Watch it again. See, here's the Lendl forehand, and he's got a good passing shot. Mcenroe with a drop volley, extraordinarily well executed. The point is, though, that as well as Lendl and as hard as he hits those passing shots, Mcenroe is a superb volleyer.
Another tremendous volley from Mcenroe, and Lendl not quite able to get there.
Outstanding drop volley again. Watch this one here. Now he has to slice that one. Makes for a relatively easy volley for Mcenroe as well as he can volley. And he makes no mistake with that one again. Puts himself in outstanding position here. Second game with a great chance to break. So the first thing that needs to be said from a tactical standpoint is that so much depends on Lendl's first serve. As you said, when he gets the first serve in, he'll win about 90% of the points because it is a ferocious delivery that he has.
And on the other side of the court, the same thing is about true. And about 90% for Mcenroe when he gets that first serve in. So Lendl comes back to even at 30-all.
Well, that's what Lendl will do to you. He'll come through with a couple of first serves, and as we said, 9 times out of 10, he'll win the point. And that's literally. But he also feels the pressure of knowing that he has to get the first serve in because those percentages drop dramatically when he misses the first serve, for obvious reasons.
That time he followed his serve to the net and put away an easy one. Again, the great first serve setting it up.
Watch it. Wide to the backhand side of John Mcenroe. He manages to just scratch it back, but it's an easy forehand volley for Lendl. 3 in a row. Lendl has won 3 Canadian Open titles.
His first ace, and he takes the second game.
The only modern-day player, by the way, to have won 3 Canadian championships. Bob Bedard from Quebec City is the only man ever to have won 3, but those were in days long, long gone, in the 50s. Here's the test, I think, for... You watch John Mcenroe throwing the ball up there, trying to get the ball around the sun. He's in a bad position to be serving from this side of the court.
But he continues to do well, 30 love.
The left-hander's ball toss is thrown if he were to hit the ball normally directly into the sun, so he'll have to throw it around the sun slightly. Not something he has not had to do before. But it does change your timing just slightly.
You heard the beep of the Cyclops, which is helping those who are calling the service lines.
There it is, the Cyclops. So you really have a two-headed monster there. You got the Cyclops and then the gentleman on the line calling it. I mean to be unkind to him, but you just have a sort of a double whammy. But he pretty much goes with the Cyclops machine, which is a good thing.
First serve for Mcenroe, leading 30-15. Games are even at 1 apiece. First set, it's the best 2 out of 3.
Nice if you could have one of those machines on each line, wouldn't it? That would cut down a lot of the controversy.
40-15. We saw it in the semifinals yesterday. Ivan will mishit the ball on occasion.
Well, he hits with so much topspin as compared to Mcenroe. You talked about that yesterday. You approach the ball in a different kind of a way. So you'll hit more, make more mishits. Remember Bjorn Borg, I think you forget how many he used to mishit, but there were plenty because he hit so much topspin off both wings, forehand and backhand.
First double fault for John McEnroe.
Missed a few first serves in this game too. I think it's a factor, John. I don't know for how long that sun is going to be right in his eyes, but you can almost see him wincing when he throws it up. But more importantly, having thrown that first serve and even got it in, he missed a forehand there that I don't think he would have missed if he'd been playing with the sun.
McEnroe holding his serve against Ivan Lendl. Takes a 2-1 lead in the first set. Final match of the 1985 Canadian Open. We'll be back to Montreal. A service winner for Ivan Lendl. McEnroe leading 2-1. The players are on serve at this point in the first set. Lendl cannot catch McEnroe in either the points or the money standings. But if he should win, it would be very, very close. Very little separates these two players at all. First double fault for Ivan Lendl.
And this is, of course, all part of the race for the Nabisco to the Nabisco Masters, played in Madison Square Garden in New York. ESPN will be there for a few days. The winner of the Grand Prix, number one on the Grand Prix, will make $800,000 in bonus pool money. The number two will make $6.
And we're talking on top of all these numbers we've already given you.
On top of all those numbers, plus the Nabisco Masters itself has a $500,000 total prize purse. So there's a tremendous amount at stake. The points for the Grand Prix, the seedings at the Nabisco Masters in New York, the ATP Hewlett-Packard computer points as well, which are the things, which is the thing that makes for the seedings at tournaments and the acceptances in events. And John, I should also tell you, while we're on the subject, and I don't want to beat it to death, but if you rank number one, for example, at the end of the year, as you watch McEnroe slice that backhand return, relatively easy forehand volley for Lendl, that if you're number one, for example, on a racket contract, you may make, let's say, 50 or 100 more if you're number one in the world than you would if you were number 2 or number 10. So a lot is at stake in terms of those points.
And the money becomes almost mind-boggling at times.
It's big business.
Just long. Ivan Lendl, for example, is very close to go over $7 million career official money if he should win this afternoon. McEnroe is already over $8 million.
Which really, if the truth be told, is a fraction of what they make in total, because the off-court earnings, the endorsements for tennis players are far higher than for any other form of athlete because of what you're looking at now. You see the face of John McEnroe and Ivan Lendl for an hour or 2 or 3, just 2 faces.
An ace for McEnroe. Lendl questions it a little bit. It's 40 love.
Are you sure?
I'll give you the last.
I'm sorry?
I saw it good.
You saw it good. I see. This much doesn't mean anything, I guess, here.
Not sure what the relevance of that comment was. Of course, it means something. Here it is on the replay again. Mcenroe down the backhand side. You can't tell, at least I defy you to be able to call it from that if you... But Lendl thought it was wide.
It's now 40-15. Mcenroe coming to the net, but his volley went wide.
Well, see, he comes in, and Lendl knows that he's got to hit the ball hard and try to get it to his feet. Against Jimmy Connors, who doesn't come in, Lendl will chip the returner serve and get the ball in play. Not so against Mcenroe.
Net ball.
There's a different style of playing against different people, and that's what I like about him. He'll adapt. Yes.
He drove him deep with the lob, but Mcenroe was still able to put it away and win the game. We're still on serve. First set, it is Mcenroe leading Lendl 3-2.
So we were telling you about that lead to the Nabisco Masters in Madison Square Garden. Lendl, as you see, over 2,200. Mats Wielander 1,758. Jimmy Connors, and then Boris Becker, the result of his Wimbledon win at number 5. The winner here will get 288 singles points, and the runner-up 201. So you'll be able to figure out that only about 300-400 points separate these two players from the number 1 position. So if one of these guys misses a tournament and the other one wins it, that number 1 and 2 race for the Nabisco Masters could change in a week.
And as you see, Ivan Lendl coming once again to the net. The other thing, if they both keep winning and moving into the semifinals and finals in the same events, it's very difficult for Lendl to catch up. Because there is not going to be a big difference in the total points. It only happens, I guess the one reason it's there, it forces the players to play every week, or almost every week. It's 30 love.
Neither player has really had any trouble on serve yet, have they? Pretty routine so far. Lendl was at love 30 on his serve in the second game of the match.
Right.
I suppose you could call that trouble, but he came through and won 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Now, let's see, the court, John, is playing pretty fast. Curran lost here to Arias, which was a surprise, but they played outdoors. Outdoors, we're all outdoors here. They played at night. And it was on court number 4, which is...
They did not play on this court.
That's right. It was a slower court, and I asked them both afterwards, and they said that this court is quite considerably faster, which is going to give aid and assistance to the more aggressive players, most particularly Mcenroe.
Another 8 for Ivan Lendl. He holds his serve with a love game.
I think you'll find Lendl's first serve percentages will improve today because with the wind we talked about, or relative lack of wind. It is breezy upstairs, but down there on the court, relatively little wind, and his high ball toss is not going to be that badly affected.
This is the best 2 out of 3. These two players have had some great 5-set matches. Last time was in the French Open.
Not many people who watched that match will ever forget it. Ivan Lendl in the 4th set. I should say Mcenroe in the 3rd set. 2 sets to love he led there. Had a chance to close him out in the 3rd set. Didn't do it. then things turned around and Lendl won what must have been the toughest match, I think, of his life.
That was 1984.
And it was the final.
That's Matthew, 15 all.
Another miss hit by Lendl. It's 15 all. That match also went a ways to dispute the theory that when he falls behind earlier, Ivan Lendl has a tendency to pack it in. He did not that day.
Testimony to two things. First of all, the speed of Ivan Lendl's return of serve, that McEnroe could be caught out of shape. And the other thing, I suspect maybe some sun in McEnroe's eyes after the serve. Watch it again, as you see Lendl going back into McEnroe's body for a second time, and McEnroe not able to do anything about it. Big point, by the way, that makes it 15-30. John McEnroe in trouble on serve. And he had minor problems the last time he was serving into the sun.
And it is 15-30, not 30-15. And it's 30 all. Capacity here at Jerry Tennis Stadium is 11,000, and we are very close to that number. Former home of the Montreal Expos in past years. Since converted into a tennis facility, and a fine one. Percentage, second serves even so far.
Well, he has let John off the hook here twice. A backhand at low 15 that there was no reason for him to miss. He was attempting it down the line. I suppose that was the low percentage play. But there at 30 all, also a forehand unforced error. Mac will take them.
And he holds serve. We are still on serve, and this is the first set. It's the best 2 out of 3 for the 1985 Canadian Open Championship. Ivan Lendl trying for his fourth. McEnroe trying to defend his championship. Right now, McEnroe leading 4 games to 3.
Especially McEnroe. John, we talked about his favorite surface being outdoors on a hard court. I think that's true, but I think he's equally at home on an indoor Supreme type court as well. Surface really on which the footing is good. He talked about that after his semi-final victory. The footing is perfect on a surface like this, as you watch the replay here. Half volley from Ivan Lendl, and then the volley which hits the tape. Oh, that could be a very costly shot for McEnroe. He had the opportunity to put that ball away very easily because Lendl was on the defensive. You know, when you get a drop volley like that doesn't work, it makes for a very easy passing shot. For some reason, he went straight back into Lendl's body, and he hit it way too hard, and Lendl got out of the way. 15 all. Imagine, it would have been love 30 if he'd made that.
Really had the opportunity to put that ball almost anywhere on the court he wanted to.
Exactly. Oh, my goodness, called wide, and I don't agree with that call. Lendl will argue with it.
Right there on the line.
Yeah.
Right there, right in front of your nose.
Yep.
20 feet away from.
Yep, you're right. It was good for sure, in my opinion. We're a long way away, but we have a good view of that line. However, you shouldn't overrule unless you're absolutely sure.
And that time he passes him easily.
If we watch it again here, you say easily, John. It's so easy to come off the lips like that easily. And of course, it looked easy, but boy,
It did look easy.
It's a tough passing shot to make because unless you get that thing out of McEnroe's reach, you're in a lot of trouble. McEnroe in 19 times.
That was not so easy. I would suppose that all perfect shots look easy, don't they? It is 40-30. Lendl. McEnroe leading 4 games to 3. First set.
He's not having a problem with the sun, by the way. When he tosses the ball up, it's not hurting his vision. The left-handers, yes, but not the right-hander.
Yep. It was long. A great forehand, but it was long, and we're at deuce.
Yeah.
Ooh.
An ace for Ivan Lendl.
It's even tougher to pick Lendl's serve as you watch it here on the replay again, because he can hit it effectively down the backhand side. You've seen him do that more often than down the forehand of McEnroe. That's why he'll get the ace into the forehand side, but you can't pick it. Watch it. Throws it up a lot higher than where he makes contact with it, as you know. That adds to the confusion of the receiver.
Back to deuce on the double fault. Second one for Ivan Lendl. McEnroe leading 4 games to 3. Not had a break, not really had anything too close to a break thus far.
You know, for the quality that these two guys are capable of, it has not been a high-quality match. Too many unforced errors at important times. And that's what made both of these players the great players that they are. They usually bear down when they get the chance. Lendl has had a couple of opportunities on McEnroe's serve. McEnroe's had a few on Lendl's, but when the big points come, they just haven't made the other guy play.
So Ivan Lendl able to hold serve. They went to deuce twice. And finally Lendl winning. So the games are even at 4 apiece. McEnroe is 26, Lendl is 25. Jimmy Connors, of course, is now 32. And these two players are dominating tennis right now. How long can a player stay on top? What is there an age cutoff?
No.
We have Becker coming on, who's only 17.
He'll be around for a long, long, long time. Lever won the Grand Slam in 62 and then again in 69. And in between that time, he, of course, turned professional, so never had an opportunity to play those events. There's no telling how many major championships he could have won. Jimmy Connors, as we mentioned, has won 105 pro tournaments, which is the most that anybody has ever won.
15-30. Lendl hitting that ball so hard that McEnroe could not handle the volley.
But here's where he's got to convert. It's the 15-30 points that neither player has played well, neither receiver. This is a chance for Lendl.
30 all. Number of championships, 58 for McEnroe, 47 for Ivan Lendl. It is 40-30, and once again, Cliff, the chance for Lendl looks like it's going to go by the board.
He doesn't move as well as John McEnroe on the hard courts, as you can see there. He just didn't stop and give him enough time to make an acceptable swing at that backhand passing shot. He should have made that. McEnroe would have, I feel.
Game McEnroe. Still no breaks in this first set of the 1985 Canadian Open Championship. Right now, John McEnroe leading Ivan Lendl 5-4. 5-4 McEnroe.
Well, you can't really argue with what Lendl did there at 15-30. John McEnroe just served a wide serve, perfect serve into the backhand side, and he wasn't able to scratch it back. That'll happen to you. You can't blame a guy for not breaking under those circumstances. But
you don't be quiet. If we have nothing to say about it, what are you asking him for? If we ask you to do it,
McEnroe says to the man in the chair, we're happy with what's going on.
Anyway, it's not going to sit there and call the score.
Not much to say about that, John. I don't know what you can say about that, really. It's an interesting observation from McEnroe. He says, look, unless we complain, don't ask the people to be quiet. We're happy out here, but I'm not sure that that's his job to tell the umpire. Well as Lendl has served, as much power as he's getting, it's frustrating to play against a guy that you just don't make any impression on against his serve.
That's why when you get those little opportunities, a point here, a point there, you have to capitalize.
Exactly.
Love.
Yeah, it makes those moments just so much more pressure-filled, as you say, John, because when you get them, you've got to take them because you're not going to see that many. Another relatively routine game, at least that's how it's shaping up for Lendl, 30 love.
What's a routine game at this level of play is something else again.
Watch him attack the serve. Let's see. Here he comes.
Beautiful volley.
You know, you really have to hand it to John McEnroe under circumstances like that as you watch it again. He's not in good position for this. He was not expecting it down the backhand side, but he was still able to just jab that thing back somehow for a winner. And of course, Lendl knows that, and that's what makes it so difficult to make the passing shots against McEnroe, because if any which way he can get his racket on the ball, it's a likely winner. And by the way, that is not true of any other player that wields a racket in modern tennis.
The ability to do that, how much of it is God-given and how much of it is practice?
It's a combination of both, of course, but there are hundreds and thousands of players who will try to learn it and never will and never can. the way, on that forehand, he guides the ball. He doesn't hit it. There's not that closed racket face forehand that you see from Borg, that Borg made so popular, that Wielander uses now, Sundström, Nyström, Arias, Krickstein.
It almost appears that he has a purpose and location with everything that he hits.
He does.
Wait, please.
And Lendl too, by the way. Closed racket face, big swing, topspin. McEnroe's is not a closed racket face take back. Continental grip forehand.
Ivan Lendl holds serve.
Oh, yes.
Just tied him up with that first serve and was able to come to the net. Could be headed for a tiebreaker here in the first set.
If you were a betting man, you'd have to put money on it, and neither player has faced break point in the match so far. No reason to see why that would change.
Oh, well, there's a start for Lendl.
My goodness, he got in front of that ball well, didn't he? The volley from McEnroe was short, of course, but it's still not an easy shot as you watch McEnroe come in here. Now watch Lendl make a swing at this one. From that lower position to get the ball up and down and to hold it down on the other side is not easy.
Second serve coming up for John McEnroe. An 8. 15 all.
I see. Silent ball.
McEnroe took a rather long look at that baseline shot there from, look at him, he's looking across there.
By the way.
Ball down.
Yeah. Bunch of crap. That's what it was.
I don't think that ball was long. And
Better eye in the match, right?
what's McEnroe?
3 feet out, right?
McEnroe is pointing to the mark. It was good for sure in his mind. Didn't hear that.
I didn't either.
It's all right. I know you're high if I broke out throughout the matches, so continue doing that.
McEnroe said it was a foot inside the line is what he said.
Tremendous shot.
And it makes that shot that was a foot inside the line on the last point loom ever larger. Watch this here now on the replay as Lendl gets that ball way out front again. A lot of topspin for a clean winner would have been 15-40. As it is, the score is 30 all.
Puts away the overhead.
You know, it needs to be said that to be fair to John McEnroe, he was pointing out that the call had gone with him. Of course, Lendl knew it, but he was making sure that the man in the chair knew as well. So he doesn't only complain about the ones that he thinks go against him.
Second serve for McEnroe. It's a good point, Cliff. Because he had the play right in front of him on that particular ball.
As you look at McEnroe now, the sun is almost directly into him. So it has moved over slightly and is not as much of a factor on serve now.
McEnroe is able to hold his serve as he has done throughout this first set. He leads 6 games to 5. Tiebreaker coming up. Well, Ivan Lendl must hold his serve, and then we'll see. First set. No service breaks. McEnroe leading 6 games to 5. Each of these players has lost only 5 times this year. Lendl 50-5 in matches. McEnroe 52-5. A double fault by Ivan Lendl. You know, their numbers, not only matches, money, points, everything, very even, just about as even as this tennis match here.
I think Lendl's in trouble. Fighting to get into the tiebreaker. A double fault. And now a second serve at love 15. Wide. And the man in the chair agrees with the call. Lendl's going to complain.
He stinks so bad, it's unbelievable. Really. The last time
That's a warning to Ivan Lendl. He has a violation now.
last match you're doing.
But Lendl continues to talk. I'm not sure that I wouldn't just get on with it if I were in Lendl's shoes right now. As you watch it on the replay.
A love 30. So very difficult on the replays to tell. The ball gets lost near the white. This is McEnroe's chance right here. He's got 3 set points at love 40.
And that double fault on the first point cost him heavily. And then McEnroe, you know, you missed the first serve against him. He's going to make you go for it. Close call, admittedly, but suddenly it's all over.
Saves 1 set point. Two remaining, 15-40.
Makes those first serves important, doesn't it? I feel sure McEnroe will attack this one.
He does. And he wins the first set as a result. McEnroe attacking the second serve of Ivan Lendl has won the first set, 7-5.
Here's what makes it so difficult for Lendl. See, he comes in now. That ball's right down the middle. No angle is there for Lendl to go for. So he's got to pretty much go back down the middle. McEnroe is there, and as I've said a number of times, there is no greater volleyer in tennis. There maybe never has been a greater volleyer in tennis than McEnroe. And he guides the thing down the forehand side. Lendl can't get to it, and the first set is history.
It's those little things. You called it so well during that first set. Just one little crack. That's all it took. Now I would think the tough thing is for Lendl to pull himself together.
I think you're exactly right. He is just slightly more fragile mentally than McEnroe is. Always has been. A real human trait. McEnroe can go through all sorts of trials and tribulations, but when the chips are down, he gets the ball over the net. He stays with it, bears down. And Lendl, you feel that when he starts to lose it, he begins to lose concentration, which is what happened to him on the last game.
And that's why I think when you recall that 1984 French battle was so important for Lendl to be able to come back. This is only 2 out of 3 today, though. Which means that should Ivan Lendl be broken again here in the second set, it would almost be history.
Could be a quick set. You see Lendl right now, the last couple of points, he's moved very quickly after he's hit the ball. Almost a little of the I don't care attitude. I hope that's not true.
Excellent shot there.
So he was ready to walk to the side. If Mcenroe had made that volley, he wasn't about to go try to chase it down at 40 love. Of course, there's a good reason for that. But he could lose it, Lendl. I'm talking about lose control of this match. And against Mcenroe, you can't afford to do that. You've got to stay with him every inch of the way.
Mcenroe tried to run it down, stretched out, but couldn't get there.
Watch it here. Very forceful volley for him. A tough passing shot for Mcenroe. Lendl there. Now see, he's starting to amble away. Mcenroe tries to get to it nevertheless. He's got a lot of energy in reserve. Both of them do. Still game point.
Those last couple of points might have helped Lendl mentally a little bit. That will help him mentally for sure.
Well, you know, if he could have strung 3 together on McEnroe's serve at the times that he needed them, it would have been a whole different story, especially there in the middle of the first set. At this point, all it's done is got him back to deuce, and the chances of his winning the game are still very slim. See, the statistics, believe it or not, will show you that when you're serving, when either one of these two boys is serving at 15-40 down, that's about even from that point. They will win about 50 and lose about 50% of those games. At deuce, the server is still very, very much in control.
It was wide. Game 1 of the second set goes to John McEnroe. He is leading in the final match of the 1985 Canadian Open. He took the first set 7-5, and it's 1-love in set 2. Game 2 of the second set, McEnroe broke in the 12th game of the first set to win 7-5, and I would think that for Ivan Lendl, Cliff, this is a very important game. He's got to right himself a little bit.
I think he came back in that first game of the second set and made him feel a little better, but there was a point there in that first game on McEnroe's serve when I thought he might be handing it away. But you go through periods like that. He was obviously upset with what happened on his serve there in the first set, and it doesn't mean that you've given it away for the match. Watch the serve here of Lendl into McEnroe's backhand. That's a fabulous shot. Now he closes in. Open court for the winner.
Another one.
Has to have been a slightly bad bounce or something that McEnroe did not expect, because when he makes a swing at the ball, he very seldom misses it. Let's see. First serve percentages, 58, 53 for Lendl. Winners, 9 for McEnroe, 11 for Lendl. Unforced errors, 17, a lot more for Lendl. I guess that's the difference.
And there's the winner. The backhand down the line for McEnroe.
So the stats are pretty similar for both players, except in that unforced error column where Lendl is higher, quite a lot higher than McEnroe.
McEnroe gets there. McEnroe used the full court that time. The ball sat up enough that he could get to it.
Well, look at how he moves, though. You see this drop volley from Lendl is a little high, admittedly, but still, you remember where McEnroe was when you saw him before he started to move for that. So he covered a lot of territory to get to it. And it's one thing to see a point like that in isolation. What you have to remember, though, is that it sends a message to Lendl. The next time he makes a volley, he's going to have to make it count. And this is the next shot right here. Now, Lendl rather is forced to hit this volley. McEnroe gets to it again, and Lendl knows that he has to make those volleys count. They have to be hit with purpose, with direction, or otherwise McEnroe's going to run them down.
So Lendl does hold his own serve. Games are even at 1 apiece in the second set. McEnroe scrambling all over the court. I think when he got even at 30-all, maybe he sensed a chance to do something, because he was going all out for every point. He didn't pull up on anything.
He hasn't yet that I've seen. McEnroe, he just goes for everything. He has a lot in reserve. I think both players do. Returner serve is outstanding. As you could see, McEnroe forced a half volley. The court is totally open. Lendl takes his time and just places it in. He could have gone either way, by the way. McEnroe crossed the court in order to cover for that cross court. Lendl could have gone down the line. McEnroe wouldn't have been anywhere near it.
Misses the volley that time. And it's love 30. So a little bit of a chance for Ivan Lendl.
A big chance for Lendl. McEnroe serving into the sun again. It is not in his eyes when he tosses the ball up anymore, but it still is a minor factor. Much nicer to have the sun on your back than right in your face. And there's a slight breeze, too, you can see behind McEnroe, those, whatever they are behind him, blowing in the wind. Decorative cloth curtains.
Lendl did not really come close to breaking McEnroe in the first set.
54 to 60% off first serves.
It floats long.
As you saw from those stats, though, the interesting thing about it was that neither player is winning as high a percentage of points when they get the first serve in than when they play on the average. And there are obvious reasons for that, because these are the two best players in the world as of right now. It's good.
McEnroe thought it was going to carry long, and it dropped in.
Well, you don't often see him make a mistake like that. McEnroe just making a split-second decision to himself, saying, let me leave this ball. I think it's going to go long. How often you have seen them leave a ball and it'll go 6 inches to a foot out, and you wonder how they know. Well, they're not infallible. McEnroe is going to pay the price, I think, for that decision.
15-40. Double break for Ivan Lendl. It was wide.
Well, who called it wide? I didn't hear a call.
Well, McEnroe is waiting back there.
Why is everybody throwing the ball this far? Why the ball is right here? It's this far out, right under your nose. What do you mean? What are you doing here? You didn't see the ball. What are you doing here, then? Call them down.
First service, please. Let's play, Mr. Lendl, please.
Call them down, please.
Well, Lendl has asked for somebody to be called down. I assume it's the referee or the Grand Prix supervisor. Let's see what the reaction is. Lendl's sitting down. I tell you, this could be dangerous. He's had a warning, remember. He has had a warning. And he has 2 break points that he is looking at right now. I guess the next thing that can happen is that a point could be taken away from him, which would put him in an incredible position. Let's watch it again here on the replay. It was clearly wide. It was clearly wide. You can't often tell, but I don't know if you agree with that, John, but when you see it that far wide, then... And here they come. Here's the Grand Prix supervisor coming off from the side of the court.
There was no call, and McEnroe returned almost like he was going to serve a second ball.
I think McEnroe clearly knew that that first serve was wide, as you could see on the replay. Lendl wanted a call from the man in the chair. The man who called the line was unsighted.
Unsighted situation here was called for what?
Why does it call for red? That's why he's here to decide. The ball was this far wide. It's not even close. He has another linesman over there which he can ask, which has clear view of that. I'm not playing under this guy anymore. I'm sorry. He made 4 mistakes, all against me. I would like him changed. Please. No. I'm not watching anything. Here is the mark. The ball is this far wide. It's 15-40. I can't. His serve is tough enough with the second serve. I don't. Why does this guy give me hard time here? He's giving me hard time because he is, you know what I think about it. Let's play tennis, reasonable tennis, where the court is the same for both players, not just for one.
Let's play, please, gentlemen.
Well, now let me see. I don't know how you can sum up what just happened out there. You heard the Grand Prix supervisor come down there, which I think was bowing really to Lendl's request. I knew that he wasn't going to change it. There's not something that he can change from watching from wherever he is watching this match. He's not going to change a call from the man in the chair. It was clear what happened. The lines person was unsighted. In the chair, he didn't feel like he had a good look at it. On the replay, it was clear that that ball was wide, and personally, I think he probably should have overruled it. I do not think, though, that he should have bowed to Lendl's request to bring the referee out. As it is, it's back to first serve, 15-40.
Very good. Still double break point for Lendl.
First serve so far.
McEnroe was simply a spectator through all that, but I know that, as you pointed out, he knew that serve was wide also.
Yeah, I mean, you could see him hesitate, too. He was ready to serve the second serve. You know, once you serve the first serve, you think it's good. You walk to the other side of the court. He didn't do it. Lendl, by the way, asked for the man in the chair to be changed. That request was, thank goodness, not granted.
Still a break point for Ivan Lendl. That time he made the correct judgment, and we're at deuce.
And I say, thank goodness, John, not to interject an editorial comment on my point, but you don't want to get involved in a situation where the players can have lines people and people in the chair removed. Otherwise, you just never know where you're going to be. All kinds of precedents would be set. It happened last week in Stratton when Connors requested the lines person be removed. And that was granted. And Lendl wanted it to happen later. And it was not.
So a double fault will give Ivan Lendl a third break point in this third game. McEnroe won the first set 7-5. It's 1-1 in the second set. A long game.
Another big point for Lendl.
Back to deuce. I thought it was interesting that he said he's tough enough to have serve against you without not getting the calls, too.
It's a true enough statement. Of course, it's true for both of them. You know, McEnroe feels the same way. serve. Oh my goodness, that man has got so much touch. You know, Lendl, not for a second did he imagine that Mcenroe would go for this delicate lob. Watch it here on the replay. Now he gets into the net in very good position. But Mcenroe, no topspin, he just sort of guides that thing over, and you saw it land about 3 feet from the baseline.
He's fought his way back, so it's his advantage now. And finally, Mcenroe, who had time to change shirts during a little conversation between the umpire and Ivan Lendl, he finally holds his serve in this third game. He won the first set 7-5, and it is Mcenroe 2-1 in the second. And we are back to tennis after a long third game. Finally won by Mcenroe. He leads 2-1 after winning the first set 7-5.
And a big game for Lendl that he did not win. And let's see what that does for Mcenroe. Having escaped a game like that, John, it sometimes happens that the player who's receiving says, well, I've been given a little breathing space, so I'm going to make my move. Let's see.
That was long. He attempted to make a move on Lendl's first service game in the second game of this set. Scrambled all over the court. Got it to 30 all. Not able to return that serve. It's 30-15. Ivan Lendl trying for his 6th championship of the year. Mcenroe has already won 6. And he missed it.
Well, that should have been 40-15. Lendl knows it. So does Mcenroe. Again, Mcenroe may try to capitalize on that mistake. Let's see.
And he has a chance.
I mean, he obviously is going to try to capitalize on it, but there's a mental thing involved there that that tennis players understand, and that is, boy, I've been given a chance here. I'm really going to make my move. Concentrate especially hard, and he has break point.
And he's going to get a second serve on break point.
Watch Mcenroe attack it. I can almost guarantee it.
He wanted it, didn't he?
Yeah, but did you see what Lendl did on that second serve? He wasn't going to give Mcenroe a chance to attack at any cost, and including the cost of a double fault, but he threw that big second serve into the forehand side and hit it as hard as he ever hit a first serve.
Yep, he certainly did. We're at deuce. Misses the volley. Actually, on that big second serve, we'll look at the replay first.
Really goes down the line. Mcenroe had a good look at that volley, and Lendl was coming in. It would have been a tough passing shot for him to make, but he just missed it.
Talking about John Mcenroe, he'd actually moved 2 to 3 feet inside the baseline. He was coming up on that second serve. So give the credit to Lendl. He made the shot when he had to there. Now he has the advantage.
Oh, a little bit of help from the net.
Back to deuce.
See, Ivan Lendl just doesn't have the same kind of control at the net that Mcenroe has. Watch this here. Now, he puts this back in the court, gives Mcenroe a look at one passing shot, boom. He gives Mcenroe a look at a second passing shot. That one hits the tape and gives Ivan Lendl no chance to make the third volley. The important thing, though, is that Mcenroe will put that first or second volley out of reach. Lendl can't.
Big serve from Ivan Lendl, who regains the advantage. There's been only one break. Came on the last game of the first set. McEnroe got it to win 7-5.
Well, you remember the first set, every serve game went just according to plan. In the second set, that whole story changed. Every game has been fought for bitterly.
This is the fourth game. 3 of them have gone to deuce. I'd have to say that that's the kind of tennis we came to see this afternoon. If the first set was routine, this one has not been so far.
That's really outstanding stuff. Ivan Lendl serving beautifully to get himself out of a very tricky situation. It was just one game ago when he was in a tough situation, but you see that big serve, and that was a second serve, remember, into John McEnroe's forehand side. If there's one thing that's going to stop McEnroe from hitting that second serve, chipping it and coming in and making Lendl going for the passing shot, that's it.
McEnroe gets the point, but more movement now out of Ivan Lendl than we had seen earlier.
There it is again. You see that delicate volley from McEnroe. Another one from McEnroe. Lendl gets to it, but an easy overhead, well, sort of side swipe from McEnroe. He just guides the volley so well, doesn't he?
Neither one of these players has been taken to a third set so far in this 85 Canadian Open. John McEnroe trying to defend his championship. Ivan Lendl trying to become the first player to win it 4 times. Big serve from McEnroe. He goes up 40-love.
This tournament is part of the Nabisco Grand Prix, and we talked about the bonus pool and the fact that the winner in points of the year-long competition wins $800,000 just as a bonus. And I said the second prize was $600. Actually, it's $550.
Second serve. Games are even at 2 apiece in the second set.
So $250,000 separates number 1 and 2 player for the year, the overall year. And as we mentioned, McEnroe at this point is about 300 to 400 points in front of Ivan Lendl for the year.
Second serve at 40-love. Ball went right to his feet, and he could not get it back across.
And John, it's interesting that we are watching the number 1 and 2 players in the world. Neither one of them won the Australian Championship. Wielander won that. Neither one of them won the French Championship. Wielander won that one. Neither one of them won Wimbledon. So neither one of them in 1985 has won a Grand Slam tournament. Of course, Becker won Wimbledon.
But as you said at the top, they continue to be the class of the tennis world over the long haul right now.
Oh, yes.
Now, John will disagree a little bit. It'll be 40-30.
Watch it. See if you can call it. My goodness, you'd have to say that was on the line, wouldn't you?
It's almost impossible to tell.
No mistakes at all the whole match. Not one mistake. Excuse me? Is that an answer? The question was, there's been no mistakes this match.
Now, that's a tough question
Is
to
that
answer.
correct? Is that the answer? kind of answer is that? I asked you a question, right? Don't give me that crap. Ask me, answer the question, right?
I'm not sure that it's fair to make the man in the chair answer that question. It was kind of rhetorical anyway.
Answer the question.
What's he going to say?
If he says no, you know he's going to argue that.
That's right.
40-30.
If he says yes, he's going to say, why didn't you change it then when you knew it?
Talk about a no-win situation. And now it is Ivan Lendl who gets even. Beautiful forehand passing shot.
He's done that before. Remember when Mcenroe was serving from this side about 6 games ago? Mcenroe here, serving, and you see get to the net here, and a little slow to get to the net, but a fine passing shot from Lendl off the forehand side. We're back to deuce.
And out of the 5 games, 4 of them have gone to deuce. That's how tough it's been in the second set.
Case.
Beautiful serve.
Lendl doesn't like that one, but it was clearly good.
I think the players are starting to get into this match a little bit.
Well, you know, it happens. Once somebody starts to talk to the lines persons or the umpires, then it kind of feeds on itself, and you lose control of the match. That ball was clearly good. Lendl wanted to call. He's not going to get one.
I can't hear you. Yeah, I'm telling you this ball was wide, and you never overrule in your life probably, right?
Well, it's a shame. I felt that the man in the chair should have given John Mcenroe a hard time when he asked him that question, because I don't think that was a fair question to ask. The ball was clearly in. Lendl was clearly wrong on that call. But I think Mcenroe should have been given at least a warning for the time delay the last time around, and that may have affected Lendl's feeling. I didn't think that his reaction was at all fair, and obviously he was wrong on the call.
Advantage Mcenroe.
You hate to see it.
And game Mcenroe as Lendl just heads for the bench. Still on serve in just the second set. Scratching and fighting Mcenroe and Lendl for the championship. Yes, they care very, very much. We'll be back. Mcenroe leading 3 games to 2 after winning the first set 7-5. We've seen as much of Jeremy Shales as we have McEnroe and Ivan Lendl at times. The man in the chair has had his hands full. The players have held service in this second set, but not without a struggle.
All right.
2 quick points for Ivan Lendl as he goes up 30-love.
This is clearly the easier side for Lendl to be serving from now. The sun has moved to a point where when he's serving from the side that McEnroe is now on, it's going to be a much tougher ball toss for him.
And of course, that has been a changing factor as the match has gone on.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, it was John McEnroe who was having problems with the sun. McEnroe trying to come in, but unable to return the serve, and it's 40-love. made that point basically at the baseline. A little change in strategy that time by Mcenroe on the serve. Originally, he did not come in as he has been. He stayed back to start.
I think it's a bad idea to change it up. You saw him eventually coming to the net, though he generates more power off the ground than it looks like he does. You know, he can hit that ball very flat. The ball stays low. You saw him do it there. And Lendl couldn't run it down.
It goes long. Lendl holds his serve in game 6. It is 3-3, second set.
What do you mean new ball? 12 and 6, 18, right?
That's all right. He doesn't know how to count anyhow, so that's
Oh, my goodness. Poor Mr. Shales. He has had a rough day of it in the chair. Some of it his fault, I'm afraid to say. And some of it not. Some of it very much the fault of the players. But they will play with the old balls because, of course, Mcenroe is correct. New balls will not be played until the next game.
The split sets, that means the next set wins, in case you don't know.
They're going at it now.
Well, the point is, he's given Lendl a warning already. He has not given Mcenroe a warning. I think he, at one point, should have, as I've already said. And if Lendl goes at him too much, the next thing will be a point penalty against him. Then a game. So I tend to be careful in the tight situations.
It was interesting that the warning came fairly early. The bantering has continued, but we've had no more. In fact, if anything, it's intensified. That outburst was relatively mild. Ah, but he did miss it. 30-15. Games are even at 3 apiece. Mcenroe is up a set.
Oh, my goodness. Somebody said something to Mcenroe from the stands that I did not hear.
Excuse me. Shut up there. Take the heat stand. What the hell does that mean?
Now, the crowd feel left out, and they want to become a part of the circus.
40-15. Service winner for John Mcenroe. Second consecutive weekend that the top-ranked players in the world have gotten together. 4th time this year. Mr. Drysdale is right. There'll be a number 5.
Well, that is reference to the fact that I think that they'll both be in the U.S. Open final, and I don't see anything that we have seen today that doesn't justify that.
Right now, it is Mcenroe leading Lendl.
There's Lendl 31. He's come in more often. 38 points. About the same percentage of win when they come in.
John Mcenroe was able to break on the final game of the first set, win that set 7-5.
After the U.S. Open tournament in L.A., San Francisco, Johannesburg, the Sydney Indoors, Tokyo, Stockholm, London, and then the Australian Open, and ESPN will be there for semi-finals of women's and men's competition.
Plenty of tennis remaining in the 85 calendar year.
The Nabisco Masters will finish January 13th. And that will conclude the 1985 Masters, 1985 year.
No problem at the net that time for John Mcenroe.
Again, I want to remind you that this is the tough side for Lendl to be serving into. And he is having a tough time here, as you see John McEnroe with that backhand volley. And then easing the forehand into the open court. Lendl nowhere in sight. And it's 15-30.
Another mini chance for McEnroe. Oh, yes, right on the line. And now 2 breakers coming up for the defending champion here in Canada.
And I should add to that that if he wins one of these next 2 points, he'll be serving for the match.
It is 4-3. McEnroe.
Second serve, and I think he'll attack it.
Here he comes.
Deep serve. He tried to attack it, and that's the way to put pressure on Lendl. But Lendl has come through in this set, hasn't he, when the chips are down on second serve? He needs a first serve here, though, doesn't he? Because to have to serve those deep second serves, sometimes into the forehand side, time and time again, without double faulting, is not an easy assignment.
Good point. Second break point for McEnroe. And we'll have a second serve.
Borg used to do that so well. He was a backcourt player in every sense of the word, but he won 5 Wimbledons, and I remember so well watching him play, and every time he would feel threatened and pressured by a guy who'd come in, he would just change things up and come in himself for a while, just to keep the net rusher honest, and then he'd go back to the game that was his best game, which was from the back of the court. You saw Lendl there attacking McEnroe to try to neutralize his attack game.
He's fought off 2 break points. And now has the advantage. He's gone to that serve, and especially the second serve, to bail himself out this afternoon.
You got to hand it to him. He's come back a few times. This is good stuff.
Certainly this set much more interesting than the first. Well, if you're going to do it, better there than on the previous point.
I suppose.
Better not to do it at all.
You don't want to, once you get a chance to put McEnroe away, you got to try to do it, of course.
Oh, that's nice.
So again, McEnroe will be handling a second serve. And double faulted himself into another break point.
Well, that's 2 in a row. And now McEnroe's taking just a little extra time. You see the double faults from McEnroe. 3-5 for Lendl. But 2 big points.
Could be the difference in the match.
Well, it's McEnroe's style of play that draws those double faults, as we talked about. Here's a big one. Is he going to go for the big one again? I tell you, it's an interesting battle of wits here. Lendl saying, look, I'm not going to let you chip and come in and make me go for the passing shot. One of the ways of doing that is serving and coming in behind the second serve. You haven't seen that much of that kind of style of play from him, but he's done it twice in critical situations in this game alone.
Back to deuce. Fourth time we've been at deuce. McEnroe had 3 break points.
Open court. You just can't give John McEnroe too many looks at the passing shot because he'll eventually put it away. Watch it here. Here is his second chance. I thought this one might have been the end of the point, but Lendl covers for it. Now, though, it's down the line and open, and he doesn't miss the second look at the pass.
Fourth time that McEnroe has had a chance at a break point. On the other side of the court, Lendl had a game point. Couldn't finish him off.
See if he comes in behind the second serve again. No. Well, he tried the big serve into the forehand side again. 3 double faults in one game is just too many.
Well, it sets up a possible championship game here for John McEnroe, who will serve for the match. He's leading 5-3 after taking the first set 7-5. 3 double faults in that 8th game. Ace. McEnroe now needs 3 points for his second consecutive Canadian title and his second consecutive victory over Ivan Lendl.
Lendl beat him at the World Team Cup that was on clay in Germany in May, and the WCT Tournament of Champions also on clay at Forest Hills in New York. And of course McEnroe won last weekend in Stratford.
So now 3 match points for John McEnroe.
Kind of an insufficient conclusion to the match, isn't it? It was so hard fought, and then suddenly 3 double faults from Lendl in that tight game that you just saw, and now an easy serve game from McEnroe, and it's all over.
It is over. McEnroe is the 1985 Canadian Open champion. Defeats Ivan Lendl in straight sets, 7-5 and 6-3.
Neither player, as they walk by the umpire, saluting him in any way, a kind of a cursory thank you from both of them. I guess another match that they feel not very well appreciated.
So it is McEnroe over Lendl here in Montreal. He's the champion of the Canadian Open for 1985. We'll have more coming up from Montreal. 85 Canadian Open. I think for me a little bit of disappointment that the second set, which was so well played and so exciting and hard fought, had to kind of come to a sudden and disappointing end.
Well, it was, I suppose, but I thought it was well played, and I think Ivan Lendl showed that he has got the potential to beat John McEnroe. The things that he's got to do, though, John, are that he's got to hang on. You know, McEnroe plays like a bull terrier. Once he starts to grab at the bottom of your pants, he'll hold on and he just never lets go. You don't have the feeling that Lendl plays that way. He's not that kind of a player. His way of expressing himself is just to keep hitting the ball even harder. Well, it worked for him under some circumstances in that third set. He stayed in the match by some outstanding second serving, but then when he really needed it at 4 games apiece, or at least, what was it, at that point, 3-4, it let him down and McEnroe came through in characteristic fashion and won. But McEnroe was not, I thought, as lethal as he can be, particularly in the first set. In the second set, he showed a little bit more, and I have a feeling that after this match, he will say that that he was not entirely happy with the way that he played.
He is the winner, 7-5 in the first set, 6-3 in the second. There were only 2 breaks of service, and it was John McEnroe able to come through as we go back once again to match point. The return is long, and McEnroe is the champion here in Canada for the 2nd consecutive year. And he will be receiving the applause and the cheers as we present the trophies. We'll have more, some final thoughts right after this. Singles championship here in Montreal at the Jerry Tennis Stadium by defeating Ivan Lendl in straight sets. It was 7-5, 6-3. McEnroe winning this championship for the 2nd consecutive year. McEnroe over Lendl 7-5 and 6-3. For Cliff Drysdale, this is John Sanders saying good afternoon from Montreal. The 1985 Canadian Open Tennis Championship has been brought to you by 7-Up.